name is Lisa Chu. I have been hiding from you for the past 4 years. Out of fear that what I had to say and what I had to teach would be too much. Too much of a contrast to the world that conditioned you and acculturated you into the identity of a physician. I only experienced 4 years of the training process. The very first 4 years where I resisted with all of my will that process of acculturation, and I left. I've since been a venture capitalist and then a solo entrepreneur, following my dream to open a violin school here in California. And 4 years ago, I experienced my own version of burnout. I didn't have a name for it at the time. I just knew that I was pouring myself into my passion, my dream, my commitment, my caring as a teacher and as a creator of a learning community where I had the values of what I knew was important and what I thought to be important at the time, to be a leader, a learner, and an appreciator of beauty. And I gave everything of myself to that vision. I gave it to all of the people around me. I grew something from nothing. And I say this because any of you who have started your own medical practices have done the same thing in your own way. You poured yourself into something and you created something from nothing. You recruited people and attracted people into your circle. And here's where my story is unique to me, but may also find ties into your own experience. As I poured myself into growing my business, my school, I found that all of the people around me were really enjoying the experience. And yet I was growing more and more tired, more and more disconnected from the thing I myself had created. And I couldn't explain that. I couldn't explain why working harder and making it bigger and growing the business metrics were not leading to a greater sense of satisfaction, ease, or the things that I now saw to be important and thought were at the end of the rainbow when I achieved these things: peace, freedom, joy, love, and connection. These were not things that were growing at the same trajectory as my business. And that confused me. It didn't fit with the picture that I had basically lived by my whole life, which was if I just achieve X, Y, and Z, whatever that goal was that I set in front of me, and I was very good at doing that. But I really believed that once I achieved that, I would feel a certain way, happy, at peace, able to just kind of be more relaxed and enjoy. These were concepts, they weren't actual experiences, so I'm putting the words to them now, but at the time, I just had a sense of getting there, wherever there was. And at that point in my life, 4 years ago, the there was there, but the feeling wasn't matching. And in fact, it took my body completely screaming and almost shutting down on me for me to pay attention. It was, for me, it occurred in the form of debilitating back pain at the end of each of my work weeks, and to the point where I remember one particular Thursday arriving home and not being able to move, and not being able to get out of bed. So that's when I really said, this is not right, and I need another way, but I don't know what that other way is. I've used all of my resources and all of the rules that I'd been taught by all the successful people around me that I'd been surrounded by, and it's not working for me. So there was a moment of surrender. And after that, the story becomes a lot less linear and a lot less explainable in a way. It becomes a true story and unfolding. Coincidences, miracles, chance encounters, detours, adventures, seemingly unrelated events all coming together into a beautiful woven tapestry that I now see as this magical infinity called life, and that I'd been so narrowly experiencing that burnout was really my gift, the gift of a wake-up call to begin to realize how narrow of a corner of reality I had been limiting myself to, based on the beliefs that I chose to take on, and then the box within which I was willing to imagine. And so I've been hiding because I have been, well, for one, I've been experiencing my adventure fully. So I have been living the story, and now it's time to tell it. And I've been hiding from sharing it back with the audiences of the communities I left. And that would be the medical community, the venture capital community, and the entrepreneur community. Because I've been unwilling to admit that this really is my life unfolding in all of its splendor. That the path from closing my violin school, my dream, to today has been exactly the beautiful unfolding and the enabling of the teaching that I've truly wanted to do. And it explains why the name of my business is the same as the name of my violin school, because I've been unwilling to let go of that name and to conclude that they're two different things, because they're a continuation of that same mission of wanting to teach what true learning is, what true possibility is, and what true appreciation of beauty is. And so now I'm talking to you, physicians, because I've been unable to ignore the call of this growing problem called physician burnout, and now the greater awareness of the corollary problem of physician suicide. And I'm not one to want to be sensationalist in the way that I cast problems as big problems. I think there's, thankfully, many voices in this arena that are calling attention in a very human way to the real experiences of doctors as human beings. And that's such a crucial conversation to have about the honesty of what people are really feeling as they go through their training and experience of practice as physicians. And there's so much in that cauldron of emotion that needs to be brought to the surface, and that storytelling is essential. The piece of it that I would like to specifically speak to, because it's what I learned for myself and I practice for myself and that I enjoy sharing, is the whole suite of skills related to self-care. And in my own awakening from burnout, I discovered a whole new territory that was never modeled to me and never explicitly taught. And I captured these principles in an article that I wrote about the 5 principles of self-care. But it comes down to listening. I look at all the 5 principles and they're all various ways of listening inwardly and becoming aware of choice and responsibility in a way that we're never taught. The two words, choice and responsibility, I experienced as being chosen. So applying to things, being good enough to be chosen to get in. So my whole life revolved around being good enough to be chosen by other people. But I didn't have any connection with my own choice. I might have looked like an empowered person because I was very self-reliant and capable, but the choices I were making were all about other people's perceptions and what I had to do in order to accomplish certain things that I thought would get me something. And it was a very big chain of conditional circumstances around the quote-unquote choices I was making. I was very definitive in my actions, so that's true. And yet, they were not necessarily empowered actions in the full sense of the word. So the second word, responsibility, was something I really woke up to and was a huge aha moment and really was pivotal in my decision to close the school. And it was that I'd built an entire infrastructure that was about me taking care of everyone and being responsible for everyone's experience. So no wonder as the school grew and my energy output became larger, the demands on the number of people I had to take care of and their experiences grew, I became more and more depleted. So it was a combination of never having an end to the responsibility, so that I was infinitely responsible for every single person, siblings, spouses, whole families, whatever the dynamics were. I had to make it work or make it right. And I had to make it perfect. I had to make it function in a certain way. So I had a clear vision of perfection in my mind, my idea of perfection, and I was relentless in shaping things to fit that. And yet, I wasn't responsible in the sense of myself. I wasn't responsible for me. I was actually making everyone else's experiences more important than my own. So everything was serving an idea of perfection, and at all costs, I would do what it took to get there, even if it meant depleting myself. The third aspect of that is not having any awareness of what restored me. So developing self-care is a discovery process. There's no formula. There are guidelines that I'm telling you right now, but there's no formula for what it looks like. And the true test is your internal experience and your physiology and your way of being in relationship to your job, your world, your family, and the things and people that you care about. And so it's not a test, but you know when self-care is working because there's a feeling of harmony within your body, so the physiology doesn't lie, and within your world, so the people around you and how they experience you, they don't lie. And so discovering what restored me was another big part of the exploration over the last 4 years for me. It involved going in directions I never would have predicted with the limited box of the imagination that I had at the time about what was possible. You know, I went to the gym, I did my hikes, this was my world. And I never knew that I would become a backpacker or, you know, ride 40 miles on my bike in a single day, etc. And it wasn't about finishing a marathon or any of those things. It wasn't about the achievement of it. It was about the exploration of what is that like for me to allow myself to do that? What am I like when I allow myself to do that? So all of this really boils down to shifting fundamentally from believing thoughts to experiencing in the body. That's one shift. And shifting from reacting to stimuli, like just outside stimuli, shifting from that to creating, reactive to creative mode. And packed into those two simple statements are a whole list of skills and practices about how to do that in your world. And that's what I go through in the course, and that's what I am now very excited to be sharing with the medical community as an offering. And I'm realizing that this is for whatever audience arrives are the right people. And it's time, I feel, for the wake up to start happening. It starts with one person at a time, and it grows through this sharing process and the cultivation and formation of small communities of practice that then propagate and ripple out in their own way. It's not about overhauling a system, putting in place a new set of rules. All of that, I feel, will be an outgrowth of enough people waking up to their true beauty and potential as human beings, as creative beings. I just really have felt such an opening and a freedom about knowing that it's not up to me to rewrite all of the policies and laws for healthcare, or even to design the ideal system, because it's not going to be one answer. My piece of this puzzle is to hopefully awaken as many people as come in contact with my material to their true potential, their true creative ability, and to say, wow, I have the choice and the responsibility to bring that to my world and create the life and the practice that I truly desire. And what does that look like? It's going to look as unique and diverse as every single human being on the planet. And what a beautiful vision for healthcare if we had physicians alive and awake to their creative potential, their responsibility, their power to choose, and they are acting from that place to create delivery systems that work for themselves and therefore ripple out and work for the people around them. That's how the change is going to happen. That's my vision. I really trust that the people on the front lines know what's required. They know what they desire. They know what can happen. It's a matter of freeing themselves from the how and the burden of the belief that they're imprisoned by a system, and to show up in all of their beauty and power today, now, and start creating what they know to be possible. So yeah, I've been hiding my excitement, and I see now that all of my experience has been leading me to this point. I'm delighted to say hello. I'm delighted to share the material that I'm developing. I'm delighted to share my humanity with you and my in-process nature and ever-shifting and ever-transforming thoughts and insights on this subject, and to grow along with you. So welcome, and please share your stories, share your comments, share what you're learning, share what you're curious about, share what confuses you. I want to hear from you, and my wish is that in some way this waking up begins to create more of what you desire in your world.